Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Cass Clay Food Commission. I'd like to call this 50th meeting of the Cass Clay Food Commission to order on September 11, 2024. Call for approval of the overall agenda and the contents. Is there a motion?
Joan Coppard, so moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second, Johnson.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carried. If you'd like to take a look and review the action on the minutes of May 8th, 2024. Hope you all had a chance to look them over. Is there a motion to approve?
Coppard, so moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next, we'd like to welcome new food commissioner members, John Strand of the City of Fargo and Amy Zendel commissioner from the City of West Fargo. Now I'd like to take a moment to welcome the two new members, John and Amy. Congratulations on coming to this board. Also, I'd like to take note that the mission of the Cass Clay Food Partners that you can see written on your agenda. And now we'd like to start, just take a short time and have introductions of the commission. We'll start on our far right.
My name is Paul Henkel with the City of Horace.
Hi, Karen Engler, at large.
Anna Johnson, at large.
John Strand, City of Fargo.
Joan Coppard, at large.
I'm Jim Capitan, Cass County Commissioner and Chair of the Airport Authority, filling in today for the chair.
Dave Steichen, City of Dilworth.
Jeffrey Miller, at large.
Amy Zendel, City of West Fargo.
Okay.
Jeff York at large as well online.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item number 3, an update from the steering committee. Michelle will talk about some of the steering committee's recent activities, including its work on a new strategic plan.
All right, good morning. Nice to see all of you after our summer break. So I will be providing an update from the steering committee. So what we'll cover this morning is the community of practice, the strategic planning, and then I'll cover really briefly the Cass Clay Food Action Network. So starting with the community of practice, so the purpose was to form a community of practice for cooperative research to guide the creation of resources to support other councils in taking regional approaches to food system development. If you can remember, so we did start participating over a year and a half ago, but the community of practice was headed by the USDA, Ohio State University, Johns Hopkins Center for a Livable Future, and Colorado State University. It was an 18-month commitment, and we did wrap that up in May of this year. There were a total of 11 participating food policy councils from around the United States. So the Cass Clay Food Partners was one of the 11 that was selected from a competitive process to participate in the community of practice. Part of that work, so 3 members of the steering committee participated in monthly group sessions with the other food policy councils from the United States. We also had individual council discussions with those who were hosting the community of practice. And we were even fortunate to travel to Columbus last year for an in-person meeting with all of the food policy councils. Part of the community of practice was also that our food policy council received a $10,000 stipend. So a perfect time kind of for the strategic planning for a couple of reasons, not only because of the funding that we received from the community of practice, but also, as you might remember, the Food Action Network arm of the Cass Clay Food Partners, which was hosted essentially by Food of the North. They dissolved at the end of 2023. So as a steering committee, we really felt that it was an imperative time to really look at what the Cass Clay Food Partners was going to be embarking on over the next several years, and so decided to use some of that that funding from the community of practice to do strategic planning. So part of that, or what came from that initially was, and I'm just going to read some of these because it was a very involved and intensive process, and so just want to be clear in terms of what came out of that. But the Cass Clay Food Partners will pursue a long-term strategy. Our strategic plan aims to identify the partnership priorities, how we will accomplish them, who is responsible, and how we will measure our success. Operational practices will be aligned with strategic priorities to ensure the resources necessary to achieve the goals that we have set forth. So the steps in terms of the strategic planning process, and if any of you have been involved in the strategic planning process, you know that it is very involved, were a pre-strategic planning data gathering survey, a strategic planning committee engagement, strategic plan development, and then the implementation and monitoring of that strategic plan. So in the pre-strategic planning data gathering portion of the strategic planning process was a survey that was developed and disseminated via the listserv. And we did end up getting 24 responses. A couple of things that surfaced to the top in terms of what then led us to the next step in our committee meetings was, what do the Cass Clay Food Partners do well? And the items that surfaced were share local food policy information and drive conversations around food system issues. In the area of where the food partners could improve, the two items that rose to the top were engaging with the community and educating the public on topics related to local food systems. So with that information, we did dive into the committee meetings, and over the course of a couple months, we ended up having 4 sessions in total. It did include individuals from each arm of the Cass Clay Food Partners. So we had individuals from the Food Commission attend, individuals from the steering committee, as well as individuals from the Action Network. And the purpose then of these committee meetings was to discuss and provide feedback to help inform the writing team that will be developing that final strategic plan. In those meetings, we did discuss the survey results and the desired outcomes of the strategic planning sessions. By achieving these outcomes, we aim to strengthen shared understanding, collective action, and community engagement to progress toward a sustainable and inclusive food system that meets the diverse needs of all residents in Cass and Clay counties. And through that, some things were identified: enhanced understanding and vision for collective action, actionable plans to drive policy changes and organizational growth, strengthen community engagement and collaboration, community-based solutions for food issues and improved local food systems, and a streamlined communication and public involvement for impactful progress toward a sustainable and inclusive food landscape in Cass and Clay counties. It was a lot. So with that, I am excited to share what did evolve into a mission, vision, and values for the Cass Clay Food Partners. The mission: fostering sustainable, thriving, and inclusive food system for all. Our vision is for an inclusive food system that includes thriving farms and food businesses, diverse food cultures, flourishing ecosystems, and access to foods that nourish the body, mind, and spirit. These values are at the core of our mission. They inform our decisions, actions, and partnerships as we build a nourishing food system for all. We empower our community through empathy-based education and equity promotion. Our work fosters access, cultivates resilience, and improves community health. So we have moved on to the writing committee process in the strategic planning. What surfaced through all of the conversations and all of the committee work were 3 strategic priorities, and they were governance, communication and education, and policies and practices. So each of those priorities were assigned to writing committees, and the writing is currently underway to really identify objectives and measurements for those strategic priorities. And what is really unique about the strategic priorities that came to the top was that each of those aligned nicely with each arm of the Cass Clay Food Partners. So the governance is being written by members of the steering committee. The communication and education priority is being focused on by our Action Network, and the policies and practices piece is being tackled by the Food Commission. So next steps with the strategic plan, we do look to compile and finalize all of the objectives and measurements for each of those strategic priorities that I just mentioned. We do hope to present that or the finalized strategic plan to the Food Commission, hopefully in November, and do hope to have a vote to approve the strategic plan, the new mission, vision, and values. And then we will begin implementing that strategic plan and then monitoring success throughout that process. And now to highlight a little bit about the Food Action Network. So since the dissolution of Food of the North at the end of 2023, we really took some time to identify what the Action Network arm of the Cass Clay Food Partners was really going to look like and how can we best meet the needs of our community. So we were able to have some really meaningful conversations at the beginning of the year, and we had the bingo night early in 2024. But we were able to pull together a group of energized individuals from our community who really wanted to see this work move forward. And we had a first meeting in April of this year. And at that time, because we were still going through the strategic planning process, the decision was to create a newsletter to be able to disseminate to the listserv that we currently have. And if you are part of the listserv, you likely have received the newsletters, which have been wonderful. And so 5 thus far have been sent out, and almost 600 recipients receive those newsletters. And in partnership with the steering committee, the Action Network was present at the community booth at the Red River Market this past Saturday. So we were able to give away garden kits and just educate the community about the food partners in general, who we are, what we do, and how they can get involved. And then on Monday night, we hosted a growing community and evening at the Food Forest event up at MB Johnson Park in Moorhead, where there were guided tours of the food forest, a plant medicine walk, and many vendors coming together to really highlight food in our community. So with that, I thank you. And I do ask that you consider joining the steering committee meetings. Over the past year, we have opened up our meetings to food commissioners to be able to join, to be able to learn a little bit more about the process and kind of how decisions are made, how agendas come to fruition. So if it works for your schedule, you're more than welcome to join. The steering committee will be meeting on Monday, September 23rd. We meet at 1 o'clock at Fargo Cass Public Health. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Are there any questions for Michelle? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next is item number 4, Cass Clay Food Partners Resource Review, and Adam will provide a short presentation on the blueprint developed for backyard season extenders.
Alrighty, thank you, Chair. Again, my name is Adam Alterberg with Fargo Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments. Just want to provide a brief update on the Backyard Season Extenders Blueprint that was developed first in 2016 and then amended in 2020. This actually will tie into our next presentation from Concordia College when they will be talking about their high tunnel. But as a reminder, since 2015, Cass Clay Food Partners has put together nearly 24 resource documents. These have come in the form of blueprints, which look at food systems from a land development code perspective, and also issue briefs and snapshots, which provide an overview of an issue on a local topic area related to food or food systems. So again, today, just wanted to touch briefly on the blueprint for backyard season extenders. When we talk about backyard season extenders, there are 2 types of season extenders that we're usually talking about. One are hoop houses, which include high tunnels and low tunnels. High tunnels are unheated structures, are usually comprised of polyethylene plastic that help to extend the growing season, both in the spring and also into the fall. In addition to high tunnels, you also have low tunnels, which are also called quick hoops. These are usually 2 to 3 feet in height. They're not large enough for a person to walk into, but they do cover crops enough to protect them like a regular hoop house. In addition to hoop houses, you do have traditional greenhouses. These tend to be heated structures. They're usually comprised of metal and glass that utilize passive solar energy and also tend to operate year-round. So that's sort of the difference between hoop houses and greenhouses. And again, here are some photos where you can kind of tell the difference between a greenhouse, high tunnels, and low tunnels. So looking at our zoning and land development codes for the region, hoop houses tend not to be addressed specifically in our zoning codes, but in all residential zoning districts, excluding multifamily zoning districts, we do see that greenhouses are permitted as accessory use structures, usually with some caveats. For example, in Fargo and West Fargo, these structures can't be more than 120 square feet in size. If they're over that, you do require a special permit. But other than that, we do see that greenhouses are more or less permitted in most of zoning districts in our area that are residential. That's just a very quick overview. The blueprint's pretty simple, but it is online if you had any additional questions. Otherwise, happy to take any questions from the commission at this time.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Any questions for Adam? If not, thank you very much, Adam. Next is item number 5. I'm hoping I can pronounce all this correctly. Cornucopia Garden High Tunnel presentation. Chani Thorne, a garden manager for Concordia College, here to present information on that.
Hi, my name is Chani Thorne. I am Concordia College's garden manager. And
my name is Sarah Orr. I'm the sustainability coordinator for Concordia College.
And today we're going to be doing a quick presentation on our functioning high tunnel. So first of all, I just wanted to give a little bit of history on the Cornucopia Gardens. So the gardens in general were founded in 2009 by 2 students. The goal was to create a more sustainable campus and give students and staff an educational experience in an outdoor space. The high tunnel itself was actually funded in 2014 and 15, and the structure was erected by 2016. Our design actually is solar thermal. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So the way we have 2 different types of solar panels. One runs the garage style head house that has some storage on the property. And then the other actually pushes hot air through a series of pipes that are located under the high tunnel. So we do have some heating elements to the project, which is unique, but most high tunnels normally don't have that extra heating element that we do. And we do have adjustable walls that provide ventilation, which is very common for a high tunnel.
So a quick overview of what we do at the garden. So Concordia's gardens are all organic based, which means that we utilize things like compost. So all of the energy that we take out of the soil and out of our high tunnel and other locations are reused. That also means that we use all natural pest control. There's no synthetic chemicals or anything utilized. And the high tunnel allows us to rotate our crops multiple times per season, which I'll talk about a little bit more later in the presentation. Another thing that we do is that we start all of our seeds ourselves in the greenhouse. You can see that image up top is all of our seeds from this season. Part of the reason that we do this is so we can plant things earlier. As we heard earlier, the season extension allows us to actually plant in around February to March. So accessing growing seed sets is pretty difficult at that time of the year, which is why we start all of our seeds ourselves. And then all of our produce actually makes its way back into the community as well and is utilized. So what we grow in the garden is a little bit of everything. Like I said, the high tunnel allows us to rotate our crops multiple times. So we can plant as early as February, March. So we'll start a lot of our seed sets at that point, things that are frost tolerant, such as tomatoes, a lot of tubing vegetables like turnips, radishes. We'll start those, and then by the heat of the summer, around May to June, we can start the rest of all of our plants. So we have things like some of those staple foods, tomatoes, broccoli, peppers, just about everything you can imagine. And then also with the season extension that we're allowed with the high tunnel, we've started planting some things that typically don't grow around this area because the season is so short. One of those things is loofah. We've been trying those out, quinoa. So there's lots of reasons that the high tunnel has kind of allowed us to do more than we typically would be able to in this region. And then what we do with our produce, all of it is utilized. So first off, we like to give back to the student, staff, and faculty of Concordia. This is a community garden space, so people of the neighborhood and alumni are also welcome to come back and take this produce. We also do on-campus pop-up events during the year, so students can come onto campus and grab some produce if they're not able to make it out to the garden. And then any of that produce that is not utilized, we like to give back to the community in any way. So our first location that we do donations is the Cobber Food Pantry. We like to keep it as local as possible, so giving back to our students is very important. We also do donations to Heart and Soul Community Cafe, who utilizes this produce and gives it to people who typically may have difficulty accessing fresh food and fresh meals. And then we haven't utilized this year, but we also do donations to the Dorothy Day Food Pantry in Moorhead. Another really important aspect of gardening and our high tunnel is community engagement. It's a really big space, so it's important that we have lots of help and also bring in new people from the community to utilize produce that we have. So we offer garden tours. We've partnered with classrooms on campus in an attempt to bring new students out to the garden, especially our freshmen, trying to get them to engage. And then also doing collaboration events with local organizations, such as Master Gardeners. We're doing something with NDSU. Any sort of partnership we can get to bring people out into the garden. We also do volunteer events. So we've brought student groups out to the garden, which has brought in, again, new people and kind of helped us accomplish some projects that we may have otherwise not been able to finish. And then we also do a lot of on-campus workshops and tabling to teach students about what they can do with this produce, what the high tunnel is, anything you can imagine, get crafty with it. So with that, I just want to thank you for having us here today and open it up to any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Shani? None? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Okay, next is item number 6, the Hunger Action Month. And Janice Tweet and Nicolina Page, I hope I pronounced that correctly, are both here to talk about different food assistance programs available in the community, as well as share some recent health and hunger statistics.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Janice Tweet. I'm the co-chair of the steering committee and also the Ending Hunger 2.0 director at the Great Plains Food Bank.
And I am Nicolina Page, the partner network manager at Great Plains Food Bank.
So it is Hunger Action Month every September. We like to go out in the community, make sure we're sharing education on what hunger looks like in our communities. So are grateful for the opportunity to provide a little more insights to the commission this morning. So we'll just talk a little bit more about hunger in Cass and Clay counties. So we'll start with just a little Food Bank 101, just some definition setting of what we're talking about when we talk about food pantry versus food bank. Just share a little bit more about an overview of the Great Plains Food Bank, share some of our more recent statistics for services being provided here in Cass and Clay counties, and then we'll dive a little deeper into some of the stories we're hearing, both from our partner agencies and from our neighbors that we're serving. So, Food Banking 101. So, we as a food bank are more of the warehouse, or we are the warehouse for all of our partner agencies. So, hopefully, you've all been to our location on 3rd Avenue in North Fargo, where we are distributing food across our full service area. So, we serve all of North Dakota and Clay County, Minnesota as well. And we are kind of like a Costco warehouse for food pantries and our partners to order from. So, they're able to order from us once a month, and we are able to then deliver that food to them so that they can serve and distribute that food within their community. So we are under a Feeding America umbrella. There are about 200 food banks around the country who partner with Feeding America. So we have access to a lot of great resources and knowledge by being a partner nationwide in this work to feed our communities. We work a lot with food pantries. They're kind of what people think of most of all. You think of a food pantry where you go to be able to get food if you're in need of food assistance. That can look a lot of different ways. It might be in a church. It might be a standalone organization. It might be on a college campus, as we have both NDSU and Concordia in the room who do have food pantries as well. We also, skipping to the bottom of that list, food assistance partners. So beyond food pantries, we also work with soup kitchens, shelters. We have a lot of different community partners who are out distributing foods to the people they are serving. Just going back up to food insecurity. So food insecurity from the way we define food insecurity, it's a person's ability to provide for their enough food for their family to live a healthy, meaningful life. And so food insecurity and hunger are often used interchangeably, but aren't necessarily. So yes, we are definitely serving the food insecure population, but also we are serving people who might not just be able to make ends meet today. So somebody who lost a job may need a little bit of assistance to get through the next couple months while they get into a new position, and they might only go access once versus somebody who might be in a more chronic condition where they are continually going and continually struggling to make ends meet for their family and having multiple visits to be able to provide the foods their family needs. So our mission at the Great Plains Food Bank is ending hunger together. We partner a lot across the state with different organizations. We know that in order to truly end hunger and make it so that people don't need food assistance in the first place, we can't do that alone. And so we are also seeking out collaboration and partnerships to help meet community needs. Our vision is a hunger-free North Dakota and Clay County, Minnesota. We like to say that we would love to work ourselves out of a job. If I didn't have to come to work tomorrow because everyone in our community was fed, that would be amazing. So that's what we are always striving for. And we do all of our work through our values of passion, service, and innovation. So in our strategic plan, we currently have 3 bold goals, and we kind of think of our work in these 3 different buckets. So we are ending hunger today. That's the work that people see most closely, where we are filling immediate needs of our neighbors today. We're distributing foods that can go on a neighbor's table tonight so that they're able to provide for their family. We are also ending hunger tomorrow, looking at the root causes of hunger. Why does somebody need food assistance in the first place, and what can we do to help alleviate that concern so that they don't have to get in need of food assistance, so they can have that root cause addressed. And then we're also trying to end hunger for good. And this is really where that advocacy piece comes in. What are we doing systemically to make sure the systems are set up so that people, again, don't need to seek food assistance? We do, besides being partnering with a lot of different agencies such as food pantries and meal sites, we do also have some internal programming that we run. Backpack program and school pantry are ones that people are oftentimes familiar with within our schools, really trying to meet people where they're at and where they need food. So our backpack program, students are able to take a bag of food home for that weekend, knowing that a lot of times they don't have access to those school meals on the weekend that are getting them through the week, might need a little extra help on those weekends, making sure they have that food. School pantry looks very similar to a food pantry, but it's housed within the school, so students have access to that themselves, or parents can come in as well, depending on the school, or they might also just have staff that are doing that, discreetly getting those foods to children so that they don't have to feel the stigma or feel like their friends are going to see them if they are needing that food assistance, just trying to make sure where kids are, they're being fed. A couple others that I'll point out, our Wellness Pantry program and Food Box program are us working with wellness sites, clinics, hospitals. We work closely with Sanford and Family Healthcare here in the Fargo-Moorhead area to have a wellness pantry within the clinic setting. And so at people's visits, they are screened for food insecurity using the Hunger Vital sign. So a person is in for a visit and they are asked if they have been in need of food in the last year or so. I'm not going to get the exact question wording off the top of my head now. But they're screened for food insecurity. If they do test positively for food insecurity, they're asked if they want to visit the wellness pantry or get a box of food to take home that day. And if they say yes, while they're in their appointment, a box will be packed for them, giving them food that they can then take home that day. And it's usually, we try to make that a little healthier food, low sodium, low sugar, fresher products, knowing that so many of our neighbors have chronic health diseases that they're facing, and just how much more impacted you are by what you're eating if you do face a chronic health disease, that those healthier foods are even more important so that you're not exacerbating your health condition at that same time. One other program that's a little newer for us is Kitchen Coalition. That's also very embedded here in the Fargo-Moorhead area, where we're working with non-traditional partners or non-traditional to the food banking world of more targeted populations and getting meals to people who need them. So CAPLP is one of the groups that we work with, also F5 Jeremiah program, where we're able to bring freshly made products that are made by a catering partner that we have, bring either individual or 4-pack meal to an individual or family so that they can then reheat and eat that meal that day. We know that there are a lot of diverse food needs, and sometimes getting a box of groceries isn't helpful if you're not able to actually prepare those foods. So just thinking of different populations and what their needs are, really focusing our Kitchen Coalition work on people who are going through a time of transition, don't have that capability to cook their meals themselves. Just a few service statistics from our last year, just looking specifically at Cass and Clay County. In the past year, we did distribute over 5 million pounds of food, which we equate to being about 4.5 million meals going into our community to feed people. As a food bank overall, for over a year now, well over a year, we've been distributing over 1 million pounds through our network. And so while we're extremely proud that we have the capacity and infrastructure to distribute that much food, we're also concerned that that is a lot of food going out to serve our communities, and how can we kind of work against that to figure out how do we serve less, knowing that that means need is going down. Again, back within Cass and Clay counties, over 41,000 individuals were served, 36% children, so just over a third of those we're serving are children, about 10% seniors. Looking at our soup kitchen and shelter partners too, over 300,000 meals were provided in those congregate meal settings. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nico to share more about some of what we're hearing from our network.
As I stated, I'm the Partner Network Manager. I oversee over 200 partner agencies. And in the Fargo-Moorhead area and on our website, we have listed, I'm just going to sneak over and switch for a second. On our website, we do have listed in our Get Help page every single pantry that we are partnered with in all areas. But specifically, the way that we like to organize it is by the food options. So if there are dietary or culturally significant needs, we have that listed. We have our hours of operation and distribution times listed, as well as whether or not they have weekend hours, which is what a lot of our neighbors are requiring right now. Whether or not they're a meal site, a pantry, or both, their location, and contact information should anybody have any questions. On this as well, we have our, oops, how do I go back? Do you know how to go back? Just go back. Okay, oops. Sorry, guys. There we go. I was trying to go to that link, but it's not going to let me. We do have a resource page for the Fargo-Moorhead area that lists out all the pantries, their hours, and all of that applicable information that we hand out to our neighbors directly, whether they show up to our site or they show up to an event, so that they have ready access to this. And as she mentioned, in addition to our standard pantries, we are developing a network of healthcare partners that can assist individuals identified as struggling with food insecurity during health checkups. This is kind of a newer avenue for us for partnership, and it's going really well. So, As the partner network manager, I do have a pulse on a lot of what's going on in our community and with our agencies, and some of the notable things that we have heard. Specifically, you may have heard as well as the Churches United, Dorothy Day, and Dorothy Day West. At currently, Dorothy Day West has closed. The Dorothy Day Homeless Shelter is currently closed, and the pantry and meal site is reported to be open. And this is due to a non-release of expected funds that they use in their everyday operations. But they have reported that they've been receiving a lot of community support. And surrounding pantries have also reported seeing an increase in new faces since the announcements. Even though those pantries are open, that instability has our neighbors kind of worried about whether or not they'll be able to continue visiting these sites. So we are trying to address that. The Arbors at McCormick, historically, they do have a little bit of a shaky experience in our community, but they recently hired a community initiatives manager tasked with running their pantry, gathering and supplying community resources, and hosting community meetings. Their biggest goal here is that they understand that to heal that community, they need to first create a community. They have to help the individuals that are a part of that community already feel as if they are a part of a community unit. So that's some very exciting news that we've heard. A Place for Hope. They've been open just for, I think, a little over 2 years, but they have tripled their size in their space and the amount of food that they can carry. They've also taken initiative in signing up for the Minnesota Food Shelf programming to receive more support than what we can currently give them with some of the emergency food assistance program foods and things like that. And then Champions Temple is an up-and-coming cultural partner, and they signed on within the last year, but they specifically support new Americans with obtaining access to culturally significant foods so that to kind of decrease the culture shock that they feel upon entering into our community. So some neighbor stories. We've heard a lot from our neighbors, but these are some of the ones that have stood out. We have fielded a few phone calls regarding the concern for Churches United. Dorothy Day is considered a pillar by many in this community. And one of the ways that one of our neighbors put it to me that I thought was very succinct was, when a pillar shows cracks, the community worries about the stability of surrounding infrastructure. So they wanted to make sure that the areas where we receive and provide support are still going strong, even with what's going on with Churches United. We have received stories of direct need. There is a greater need for our agency partners to have more varied availability. One of the calls that I personally fielded was a gentleman who was working third shift. He had no food in his cupboard, and none of the partners in his area were able to be open when he needed. And I was able to provide some information around pantries in our area, but with that, it's kind of brought to light that we do need to start encouraging our agency partners to have more extended availability and just more availability in general. Right now, we see a lot of daytime hours, midday to evening, and those aren't very good hours for the majority of the people that we serve. And as prices increase, there's a rising need for individuals with infants and young children to receive more assistance. And for our agency network to partner with more organizations that provide that assistance. One of these calls for assistance was a mother and immediate assistance for formula, which we don't normally have in stock, as well as diapers. And it has brought to light that we need to start extending our network to include agencies such as WIC. We already do partner with YWCA, but partnering with them in a different light to help provide these young mothers and these families with immediate assistance that we don't always have access to. So with that, thank you for allowing us to come up here and present. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the ladies? Mr. Strand?
I'm just curious, you mentioned Churches United and Dorothy Day.
Yeah.
To what degree does the outreach go into the homeless, unhoused community? Do you know?
I don't have those statistics offhand, but I do know that they do house a large number of the families in Moorhead area specifically. Right now with New Life Center and Gladys Ray, we have been seeing an increase in numbers showing up for assistance there. But I do not have those statistics offhand.
And I'll just anecdotally, the homeless folks I've met along the river, there's about 40.
Yep.
They're starving.
Yes.
They're absolutely famished. You know, the first, they're getting food, but nobody hesitates accepting and receiving food given the opportunity, you know, and I don't know, and I know our harm reduction and public health
Yep.
deliver food to them and stuff, but it's just, I'm not sure how we can help further there or not. Last question I have is, how do you address waste in your own operations?
So, one of the ways that we are trying to address waste is we have what's called the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and that's ran through the state. It is a federal program through USDA, and we were experiencing a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of waste, but an increased amount of waste with those foods because we don't have control over what is sent to us. So they're not always foods that our neighbors want to eat. So we've actually moved to an allocation model that assists with moving those foods out into our agencies. And we have also given them toolkits on creating their own allocation models to ensure that the foods that need to be moved are being moved outwards. We're also being more strategic in the way that we are sourcing foods and from whom we are sourcing our foods to ensure that we have more varied options. And we're also, in addition to this, kind of working together with our cultural food programs to ensure that the foods that we have available meet the needs of the neighbors that we have here in our areas that we serve, so that there is less waste. Our agencies want to purchase these foods, or they want to order these foods. They want to receive them, so there's less likely to be waste. We are also trying to, specifically with our inventory, I don't want to say decrease the amount of foods, but we're definitely trying to make sure that the amount that we're ordering meets the needs that we see existing. So we've been running a lot of reports on historical usage and trying to align our ordering systems with that historical usage.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, we do also have what we call a retail rescue program. You might see our trucks out in the community. So every day we have trucks out visiting the local stores like Hornbacher's, Cashwise, picking up foods that they're not able to sell anymore but are still good. And we take that directly to food pantries. So just in the community trying to alleviate that waste. And we know too, that is really good food. And a lot of times that more healthful produce, those things that are ready to eat. And so getting those out to our partners immediately so that they also can just get that. Sometimes our truck drops off and they're able to distribute it still that day. So just across the community, trying to make sure waste is kept low.
And with that, with the retail rescue program, we also have agency-enabled retail rescue, and that is where they sign up to visit these locations directly, with the idea that they know how quickly they can move their food. So they usually sign up for once a week, and some of them will do pop-ups. So specifically, Neighborhood Church, one of the things that they do is that they will go and they'll pick up their retail rescue and then immediately invite neighbors to show up and shop through that food the same day or the following day. So that's another way that we are also assisting our agencies with decreasing waste.
Very good. Good.
I have more of a comment than a question. I guess I just want to thank you for your presentation and for your fine work with the Great Plains Food Bank. I've had the privilege of working mostly through the Concordia Food Pantry and with students over a number of years. And as the community continues to grow and become more diverse, I think it's impressive that you are so committed and finding ways to meet the need where it is. And so kudos to you and to others who are working there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
This is kind of a follow-up to Commissioner Strand's question. I feel fine. For some reason, my voice is out there somewhere. Can you just enlighten me on if someone comes to any particular site, are they given a box of something or they get some choices? Because they might take home some things they might not use.
That actually is a very good question, and it depends on the agency. We have different levels of support models that we call them. So agencies have a choice to either have the pre-made box or bag model or a shopping model. And we are trying to encourage all of our agencies to have the shopping or choice model where our neighbors, it ensures that we are upholding their dignity by allowing them to choose foods that they are interested in and that they will eat. And some of our agencies with smaller spaces, that's not always an option. That's just because it maybe only one person can fit in there. And so what they will do is they will pre-box their foods and maybe have some additional options. We have one pantry that in order to still have some choice, they have outside of their door a bookshelf that they have little foods that people can choose from in addition to what they're being given. We do have some agencies that prefer to have a very set model in order to, of distribution in order to streamline their process and serve as many people as they can. And those are usually the high need, busier areas. We're talking Bismarck, some in Fargo, some in Grand Forks, where they're seeing a really high turnout and they want to make sure that everybody is getting something to go home that night with. So that's where the pre-boxed model is very beneficial. We are working towards more of a choice model, though.
You mentioned needing more varied hours. Is there anything that the commission can do to help support that work?
That's a really good question. I can't think of anything at this time, but right now, what I am doing is I'm going through all of our agencies and documenting all of their hours that they're open. And I'm kind of putting those in different tables to present to our agency partners and show them what our current standard hours are that are being utilized for availability purposes. And then I'm going to try and gather data from our neighbors to determine the need so that we can show agencies where that discrepancy is so they can start matching their hours more appropriately.
Karen, you had a question?
I just wanted to make a comment that Retail Rescue has been fabulous for the NDSU pantry. We were able to give out quite a bit more in pounds over the year, but we spent less. We spent, I think, $6,000 less.
Wow.
It's great. We have them come every Monday at lunchtime during the school year, and it's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Great.
I think that's one of my favorite parts of that program is it really helps decrease the cost. It helps offset the cost of running a pantry in addition to decreasing the amount of waste we see.
Any further questions? If not, thank you very much. It's very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, kudos and community support recognition. Rory has a special person that he'd like to highlight this month for their work and dedication.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Rory Beal with Clay County Public Health, and I'm honored to be here today to provide a recognition for one of the key people in our community from many respects, but certainly from food systems. So this is Michelle Draxton's last day. I'm actually get a little bit sad here today because I work with her a lot. This is Michelle's last day at Fargo Cass Public Health, and she moved to the FM Metro 8 years ago to take a position there in the Health Promotion Department, and I've had the good fortune to work with her on many things. She works on childhood obesity. She's done a tremendous amount of work on breastfeeding, and you heard her speak today. She is the co-chair of our Food Partners Steering Committee. She's the chair of our Hunger Coalition Advisory Board. And And breastfeeding being one of the key things I don't work with her on, but I couldn't help but think as I was preparing today that breastfeeding is the beginning of food systems. And so she gets us, her work has been from birth until the end. And so I thought of some adjectives that described Michelle. And I think they come right out of the book that they encourage you to use when you're writing a resume or a letter of support. But these are sincere things that anybody who has worked with her would know apply to her. She's bright, well-spoken. I don't think she loves to be in the spotlight, but when she's here, she conveys information in a very clear and easy to understand manner. She's very detail-oriented, which has helped me in many cases. She's a team player. She lives in Moorhead, works in Fargo. I live in Fargo, work in Moorhead. Borders are irrelevant to her. It's the work that needs to get done that's important to her. And Michelle never cares who gets credit. She's selfless, very committed to this work. She's a model of it, lives it out, and is very humble in the process of doing all of this work. And so today, kudos to Michelle.
I'm just going to say a couple things if I can. So I thought I was done with my emotions when I shared that I had resigned from my position at our last steering committee meeting, and I was prepared then with the tissue, and I had to borrow one today, so thanks, Rory, for that. This steering committee welcomed me with open arms 3 years ago, and they even said, yes, co-lead the steering committee. We are happy for you to do that. And whether it was because they trusted my experience or they didn't have the capacity to do it, they supported me from the beginning. And none of this work that has been done over the past few years could have been done without their support. So just a quick highlight, I mean, as a team, we created 5 food systems videos with the city of Fargo. We supported 2 jurisdictions in passing chicken ordinances. We're currently working with 2 other jurisdictions to implement community gardens. We've hosted Coffee with the Food Commission. We participated in that national community of practice that I had mentioned. We've attended events, we've planned events, we've hosted events, and I feel like this group is just getting started because that strategic plan is going to be strong, and I know that we are really going to continue moving that forward. I also want to thank the food commissioners for your commitment to this work, your openness to new ideas, and also being the food systems voice in your communities. The decision to transition away from the health department was not easy. I will miss the work and I will miss the people, but I'll miss how the work positively makes an impact on the health of those living in our community. And it's the impact that they likely don't see because that's public health. My position as a public health nutritionist is not being rehired by FargoCast Public Health. The largest health department in the state of North Dakota will no longer have a public health registered dietitian doing community-based work. The success of not only the Cass Clay Food Partners, but the success of the health in our community lays in the commitment to the work. Financial sustainability is important, no doubt, but so is the sustainability and commitment to the community, sustainability and consistent presence, and sustainability and passion to the health and the thriving well-being of everyone in our community. I'm incredibly grateful that I've been able to be a part of the Cass Clay Food Partners, to work with such passionate people about food systems, and I very much look forward to what is accomplished next with this group. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, our next on our agenda is our public comment opportunity. As a reminder, there is a comment form link that is sent out with the meeting's agenda and packet. And as of this morning, no online comments have been received. But if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak at this time, now is your chance. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item of number 9. Commission and Steering Committee Roundtable. Does anyone have any comments on today's meeting or any other community updates to share? None. Okay. We'll move on to the future meetings. September 23rd of 2024, the next will be the next steering committee meeting at 1 o'clock at the Fargo Cass Public Health Commission. Members are welcome to attend those meetings held on the fourth Monday of each month. The next Action Network newsletter is October 4th of 2024. Visit the Cass Clay Food Partners website at Fargo Cass Public Health to sign up to receive those. And the next commission meeting will be November 13th here in the City of Fargo Commission Chambers. That'd be November 13th again at 10:30. And with that, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.